As bullets fly, shackled detainees run, then crawl for cover, and federal agents under fire as they carry a wounded detainee to safety.
I want to thank them for their bravery.
The head of the FBI in Dallas intends to leave no doubt about who 29-year-old suspect Joshua Yon targeted.
Jan specifically intended to kill ICE agents.
He says evidence found in FBI searches of the suspected shooter's house backs this up.
Clearest motivation for this attack are his own words. In his handwritten notes, he says, "I want to cause terror."
His gun, an 8mm bolt-action rifle the FBI says he legally bought last month.
He wrote that he intended to maximize lethality against ICE personnel and to maximize property damage at the facility.
The top federal prosecutor in North Texas says it appears he did not intend to harm detainees, despite shooting 3 of them.
He also hoped his actions would give ICE agents real terror.
So, we have some news to catch up on. The left is at it again! What a shock. Who could have guessed this? That the left is at it again. So 3 shot at an ICE facility in Dallas. Suspect killed. Antifa recently designated as a terror organization, and they must be treated like one right now. Now, I know it doesn't say anything about the left in this tweet, but spoiler alert, yes, it is a leftist that shot at the ICE facility. What a shock. This is the 4th left-wing attack that has happened in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks! This has the 4th one! The 4th one! This is getting way out of hand, okay? The acting ICE director, Todd Leons, said shots were fired into the ICE office in Texas where detainees were brought in. All ICE employees are accounted for. There are confirmed fatalities. Victims appear to be detainees. So now we have a leftist who went to shot up an ICE facility, and he only shot the detainees. He didn't even shoot the people that he was aiming for, which is good, right? You know, like, I'm glad the ICE officers are okay. That is some skill to go in guns blazing, miss all your targets, and shoot the people who you're trying to defend here. I know the left hates guns until they want to use them themselves, but that's skill in itself. As far as I'm aware, 1 is actually dead. It sounds like the other 2 have survived based off what I am aware of at this point in time. I want the ICE employees to be okay. Also, to think this might stop ICE will only make them potentially more aggressive. See, here's the thing, right? I wish ICE could be more aggressive, actually. Like, I really wish, because generally I don't want to say I'm okay, at this point I wouldn't consider myself a libertarian, but in my heart of hearts, I do have more libertarian leanings, right? I don't like the government. I'm not a big fan of the government. I don't trust politicians or presidents, you know. I don't really even trust the Trump administration. I don't trust the FBI, like, when it comes to this stuff. But at the same time, and me being an amalgamation of contradictions, I do actually want a strong government. I want a government that actually does what the people want and actually puts the boot down and the gun to the neck and makes things happen. And I want the Trump administration to actually be like this, because it's the closest we have gotten to an administration that actually wants what the people want to be done. And they're not doing that. So it's this frustrating mix of the whole, okay, I don't really trust the FBI. I have my doubts about the Tyler Robinson story when it comes to, like, Charlie Kirk's assassination, but I'm also aware we're never going to actually get the full story or the correct story from the government. So there's going to be some doubts even with this one, though, frankly, doesn't look like it's as mixed up as the Charlie Kirk assassination from what I've been able to tell so far. At the same time, though, Charlie Kirk shouldn't have been assassinated. This leftist shouldn't have been able to shoot up the ICE facility, even if the detainees are dead and it's better than the ICE agents. This shouldn't have been possible. You know, the Trump administration should have, thanks to Charlie Kirk's assassination, gone full force lion's roar into these Antifa terrorist cells that they've already designated as a terrorist organization, and then rounded them up and throw them in jail at the bare minimum. There are solutions to this problem. And the only way is through effective government that actually does what the people want, even if I'm not a big fan of the government. And it's frustrating because we actually have an administration that says it does what the people wants, but then it either goes half-asses it or backpedals it like the H-1B shit. And it's like, okay, Please, for the love of God, you have the power, use it. We don't need the funny mustache man if you actually do your jobs and actually follow through with what you're saying. But you're not doing your jobs and you're not following through with what you're saying, so nothing's getting done. And now, once again, we have another leftist shooter who now shot up the ICE facility. And thankfully, once again, the ICE, workers, the federal informants are fine. But it shouldn't have been possible in the first place. Like, this is completely avoidable. Yet here we are. Once again. The fourth one that I'm aware of. And based off what chat was telling me, now we're at like the seventh one in the past like 2 weeks of leftist violence. What are we doing? What are we actually doing here? It's the whole provide for life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness thing. Government should only do those things, get the fuck out the way for the rest. I mean, yeah, like, I don't think libertarianism actually works. Like, it's like communism in the sense that it sounds nice on paper, but in practice, it's just not possible. There does need to be a government. There does need to be a ruling force. People do need to have some sort of restriction put on them and balance, especially when it comes to corporations, and more particular when it comes to government and corporations. But thanks to human nature, which I believe human nature is inherently, I don't want to say evil, but human nature is inherently, let's say, greedy instead. You do need some sort of restrictions put upon it, and that's where the government kind of comes in to help with that. Because then it just goes into anarchy, and then that's a whole other fucking shit show right there. So government is necessary as much as I don't like it, but what's the point of government if they're not actually going to do their jobs? Why is this happening? Well, I know why it's happening, but still. Remember, it's the right that needs to tone down the violence. That's why I have in my thumbnail both sides. Seriously. Anybody who says it's both sides just needs to shut the fuck up. Completely dismiss them. You use the Heatman meme, opinion dismissed. Like, just ignore them. Anybody who says both sides, just opinion dismissed, right? They don't belong at the seat of the table. Because, once again, I like my free speech. I do try to uphold it as much as possible. But there's no point in listening to you when you're being disingenuous like this. Please give me an example of right-wing violence. And I swear to God, if you bring up the Democrats that were assassinated in Minnesota a few months ago, opinion dismissed once again, because that was once again another case of left-wing violence. If you bring up Josh Shapiro, who got his house burned down, but once again, a pro-Palestine crazy leftist, once again, opinion dismissed. It is not the right. I'm not saying the right is perfect, but anybody who does mob both sides in this point in time, opinion dismissed. I do not want to hear it from you. Fence sitters need to realize the left sees them as alt-right by default. How anything center-left is still alt-right in their eyes, lol. I 100% agree, but the centrists don't see this. Anybody who's a centrist in 2025, I would say. Because I will say most centrists, majority of centrists, have been pushed to the right, even against their will, and anyone still clinging on to the fact that they're center in the year of our Lord 2025 and says both sides, you're like at least at the bare minimum center left. And remember, liberals get the bullets too. Antifa has been chanting this since 2016, that liberals get the bullet too. They don't see anybody that goes against their mantra as human. They want everyone to die and be subjugated to their commie rule. There's no point in negotiating with these people. They shot the guy who was the negotiator, the talker. What are you supposed to do in that situation? And then the people have been trying to redo what Charlie Kirk's been doing, and I actually have a video pulled up showing an example of this. And they're just being harassed and attacked and yelled at, assaulted. Like, it just, the list goes on and on and on with how violent these people are for simply just trying to talk or just exist. There's no point in negotiating with people that hate you by default because you're white, or hate you simply because you disagree with them. You just have to ignore them and move on. That's why you don't see me on Twitter debating a whole bunch of people, because there's no point in talking with them. It's just wasting energy talking with somebody who already hates you for simply your political belief. There's no negotiating. You just have to move on. and pray that the Trump administration actually does something competent. But then we have the Charlie Kirk assassination and, you know, the whole administration, you know, saying, you know, both sides is over, it's only the left, we're gonna make Antifa a terrorist organization and go after these people. But now it's been a couple weeks. The momentum is dying. Erica Kirk says, you know, oh, we're gonna forgive them. Granted, Trump did say he hates his enemies. And the different things like that. So, like, once again, there's hope, but the momentum is dying. Then this happens, so the momentum should be picking back up, but then nothing happened. It's just like, okay, it really is just like endless cycle, and I'm getting exhausted. So you can actually make the argument that Trump is actually accelerating the right wing because of his lack of firm action on a lot of stuff that the right wing was hoping for, and it's irritating even normies with this stuff. So, which is good. Under Kamala, I'm not sure that would have been possible because a lot of people would have been just more disenfranchised and upset and expected it to get worse. I'm not sure if that would have been possible. And, you know, Trump is the stepping stone for somebody else to come in and make things better, ideally. But then there's also the concern that with how things are going and things not being solved, that we are running out of time, right? Look at Canada and how bad their Indian migration has gotten in just 5 years alone. By the time Trump is out of the office, how bad is Canada going to be? How is that going to affect the US? Are we going to have white flight from Canadians into America? Or are we going to have Indian flight from Canada into America because they've extracted all their resources? Are we going to have a mix of both? And not to mention all the Indians that we have been allowing in, because the H-1B executive order that he signed wasn't what was promised. Within 24 hours, they already backslid on all the good things that it had in it. So it's not still solving the problem. Then we still have the Muslims coming in. Zohran Mamdani still is taking over New York City. Like, it's how much time do we actually have? That's one thing I do fear for. And so I go back and forth like an abused fucking girlfriend between the fact that Trump is doing good things and Trump is not doing good things, and we're all doomed. And I can't really stay consistent because I don't have hope, but at the same time I want to have hope because there are good things happening, but there's also no hope because good things aren't happening either. It's this weird conundrum that's happening in real time. All this stuff is preventable and fixable. And Trump has addressed Zohran Mamdani. He has addressed the Ilhan Omar problem. But where are the deportations at for these people? Because there are rules in the book to deport these people. It's possible. It's going to piss off the Democrats. It's probably going to make the leftists rile up and probably do more violence. But there's also a solution for that in the books as well. So, like, technically, there are rules and laws available for the government to actually make it happen, to actually solve the problems at hand. So why aren't they actually being carried out? Yeah, they talk but nothing ever happens. It really seems to be that way. The only thing that's really holding out for me for when it comes to hope right now is the fact that J.D. Vance, and maybe I'm being placated by the handsome man, did say during his Charlie Kirk speech on the Charlie Kirk show that the administration doesn't work as fast as he wants, and he's aware that it doesn't work as fast as we want either. So he is aware of the issue, and it sounds like it doesn't work as fast as he wants either. So it makes it sound like he's our guy. And that's the only thing that is really I'm holding on for dear life about. Because that tells me that he is trying to actually do something, and it just because of how the government works, how bureaucratic it is, and how just shit it is, it's not actually possible because they are trying to do things by the book, and that's just a slow process. But I don't want that to be copium either. I don't want to be placated by politicians' lies, because as much as I love JD Vance, and I am a pretty big fan of JD Vance, despite his Indian wife, Palantir connections, and everything, I have to admit, I listen to his speeches, and I get a little wet, cause, woo, that man can do some crazy things, you know, but I also don't want to be spun like that either, so it does make me a little concerned about myself. I don't know, it's just so hard. It's just so hard. At this point, I just go by day at a time. This is why you shouldn't come to me for any like highbrow political takes, because I feel like I'm starting to flip-flop every other stream, and I don't really mean to flip-flop, but it's just the fact that I want something done. And so they promise to do something, so I'm like, okay, great, they're doing something, and then nothing gets done, so then I get angry again, and then I promise something's going to be done, and so I'm like, Anyways. Stop ovulating! I can't stop ovulating! I'm so tired of the left. Because the thing is, okay, I hate to play this kind of game, calling like the left the real fascist and things like that, because, or like the real racist, because I find that cringe at this point. But there is some truth to that, where, because they do perform the big lie. The big lie is if you repeat something often enough and have everybody else repeat it, and to the point where it becomes the truth. And that's basically what they did with Charlie Kirk's assassin. Right? Entire swaths of left-wing and normies now believe that Charlie Kirk's assassin is a groyper and right-wing terrorism, and that the right has been doing the majority of violence because some ADL statistic came out where they grouped just regular gun violence in and just labeled it as right-wing violence because they couldn't actually have a political belief tied to it. Like, and they actually legitimately believe this stuff. It's a completely different reality that they have over there. And it's just insane with it. And, you know, the big lie is something that the Nazis helped promote. So I hate playing the whole you're the real Nazi, you're the real fascist, you're the real racist, but it is mildly ironic, to say the least, when they employ the same tactics that they claim that the right does and hates so much. It's just funny. It's just a little bit funny when they do that here. Trump has made a statement about what has happened today. So let's read it here. I have been briefed on the deadly shooting at the ICE field office in Dallas, Texas. It has now been revealed that the deranged shooter wrote anti-ICE on his shell casings. This is despicable. The brave men and women of ICE are just trying to do their jobs and remove the worst of the worst criminals out of our country, but they are facing unprecedented increase in threats, violence, and attacks by deranged radical leftists. This violence is a result of radical left Democrats constantly demonizing law enforcement, calling for ICE to be demolished, and comparing ICE officers to Nazis. The continuing violence from radical left terrorists and the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination must be stopped. ICE officers and brave members of law enforcement are under grave threat. We've already declared Antifa a terrorist organization, and I'll be signing an executive order this week to dismantle these domestic terrorism networks. I am calling on all Democrats to stop this rhetoric against ICE and America's law enforcement right now. The Trump administration is fully committed to backing law enforcement, strong borders, securing our homeland, deporting violent and illegal criminals, and fully rooting out the left-wing domestic terrorism that is terrorizing our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So it's good that he's signing an executive order this week to dismantle the domestic terrorism network so the Antifa stuff can be stopped. You know, because if this was done soon enough, then maybe this could have been avoided. But because the shooter does have lots of left-wing ties, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too black-pilled, maybe I'm too doomer. But calling all Democrats to stop the rhetoric against ICE and America's law enforcement right now, that's not enough. Like, that's just not enough. It's because they've been saying that the left needs to tone down the temperature, calm down the temperature for weeks now since Charlie Kirk's assassination. And it's still not happening. No matter how much they say Democrats stop the rhetoric, they're not stopping the rhetoric. Something actually has to be done to make them shut up. You know, whether that means like throwing them in jail or something. Like, I'm not, and okay, I guess when I say something, I don't mean actual violence. So I'm not saying, you know, the police need to be knocking on their doors and start blasting. I'm not saying that. But these people who are inciting violence do need to be arrested. They need to be stopped or, you know, sued. Whatever the case is, to make them shut up in a non-violent way, obviously. Because they're not listening. They're just ignoring, saying both sides and the right's the more violent one. Blah, 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 blah. We're not going to tone down the temperature. In fact, we're going to, or if you're like Destiny, saying you're going to increase the temperature to make the right, force the right to tone down the temperature instead. Like, that's not, there's no, once again, there's no negotiating with these people. They're on a completely different reality. And if a few years ago, granted, I still have this mentality, but I've pushed it to the back of my mind at this point because it's not realistic. But, you know, there's this mentality of, okay, if we both live in two different realities, then which one's the correct reality? Because obviously I believe we live in the correct reality that the left are doing all the violence and they need to tone down the temperature. But the left thinks the exact opposite of us, that they're pure and innocent and that we're the ones that are evil here. When you have such a schism, such a wide divide over what is being discussed, there is no real compromise there. So, if the right has the correct reality, which I do believe it does, is how can you look at things like this and not think that the right is in the correct reality here? I guess if you're a leftist, then, well, the right's the one in power. We should use it. Because that's what the left would do if Kamala Harris was in charge, or Gavin Newsom, or, you know, whatever leftist that they want. You know, if Hassan Piker ever becomes president, or Destiny, you bet your fucking ass. You bet your fucking ass they would use everything they can against the against right-wingers, as they already basically have for the past 10 years. Even when Trump was president the first time around, they were doing everything they can to suppress conservatives on social media. And Antifa was running wild in the streets. Black Lives Matter was burning down cities. So now the right's actually in legit power, and Trump is not being controlled by inside men. He's just being controlled by Israel instead. Then why aren't we doing anything again? I mean, once again, the executive order is better than nothing. You know, the executive order this week dismantled these domestic terrorism networks. But okay, good. So as soon as that executive order, I expect the troops to march out. And if they don't march out within the first few days of the executive order, or at least the first week, I'll be a little bit generous. The first week of the executive order being, you know, signed, then what are we doing? What are we doing? It's very clearly he's a leftist. I mean, he wrote, unless FBI is putting fake evidence on the table again, because they do have a habit of this. Which I don't think they are in this case. Anti-ICE is pretty obvious. He was supposed to be shooting at the ICE officers. He missed because he's got horrible aim, which is good. This was a bare minimum an hour, like this was happening roughly at the same time that this was breaking news, because this clip was posted at 8:40 and the attack happened at 7 a.m. See, at least Central Time. So if it's Central Time, that'd be 7:40 a.m. this clip was posted. If it's Mountain Time, that's 6:40 a.m. this was posted. So roughly around the same time that this happened, this clip was posted. Central, it is Central. Okay, I got it correct the first time. And he has the audacity to say this.
That's happening in the United States of America. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability, happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here in this country. And so I'm deeply proud that I had the privilege of signing the nation's first bill to address the issue of masking. Also to require, you have simple identification, to your point. I mean, if some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to...
Unfortunately, you're not an illegal, so ICE is not going to go after you. I hate this so fucking much. ICE I don't like the government, but ICE is actually a good part of the government that's actually doing their jobs for the first time in fucking forever. If you are here illegally, you're breaking a serious federal crime. You do not belong here in any way, shape, or form. So I do not care what the method is to get you out of the country. Whether that be jumping out of unmarked vehicles with a mask on and rounding you up, or with a catapult, or a helicopter ride. I really don't care. I just want you gone. And that's what the vast majority of people want. That is the centrist position, is a mass deportations. This was actually the Democrat position 20 fucking years ago. You have clips of Hillary Clinton and Obama talking about building a wall and trying to handle the mass immigration that has been flooding our country. Of course, they never did anything because they're politicians and Democrats, but still, the centrist position is rounding up all the illegals and throwing them out of the country. It's not authoritarian. ICE needs to do whatever they need to do to actually make that happen. And if they're going around with marked vehicles and showing their real faces, then one, that's going to alert the illegals so they can go into hiding, and two, that puts the ICE officers at risk for doing their jobs to protect the country. You are a traitorous piece of fucking shit. And to have the audacity to call us authoritarian, it's just whipping out the leftists into a bigger frenzy, and so now we have another shooting at an ICE facility.
Going to push back. And so these are not just authoritarian tendencies. These are authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government. You saw what Stephen Miller said last week. This should put chills up fine. Called the Democratic Party an extremist organization, basically a terrorist organization.
Because you were saying that the natural government centrist position, that what the government is supposed to do is authoritarian. You're the one calling Trump a Nazi and saying what he's doing, which is what the people actually want, which is what the government is supposed to be doing, is literally Hitler. And the thing is, Gavin Newsom isn't retarded. He's not dumb. He knows exactly what he's doing. There is a reason why he is still the governor of California, even though he was almost recalled a few years ago, right? He's well aware of what he's doing in his rhetoric. And then the next time something tragic happens, like with the Charlie Kirk assassination, he'll make a PR statement saying political violence is bad and blah, 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 blah. Yes, political violence is bad. I'm glad we can agree with that. But I know you don't actually believe that, because then you do these clips like this, calling literally everything authoritarian, which is just, once again, the government actually doing their job for once.
Saying he's going after his enemies. You saw the tweet that Donald Trump sent out, Truth Social, basically telling Pam Bondi, I want these 3 people taken out. That's happening in the United States.
I don't know what he's referencing with that tweet, but I hope that's actually the case. If Pam Bondi's actually doing something decent, which is impossible for her since she's a woman, and incompetent one at that, but still, if she actually tweeted that out, based. As long as it's not about anti-Semitism, because she also focuses on anti-Semitism way too fucking much. So the actual issues at hand. But again, she's an incompetent woman, so what did I expect? I don't know about that, Amal. I think he's dumb. I think Koreans are even dumber. No, he's not dumb. He knows exactly what he is doing. He's actually quite smart. He's a slimy fucking piece of shit that's quite smart. He's in his position for a reason, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He's not dumb. Do not underestimate your opponents. Exactly. Gamergate was a huge awakening for a lot of people, and over the years it's gotten worse and worse and worse as they demonized Trump so much. And then 2020, the stolen election, and then COVID, and Black Lives Matter Summer of Love, and transing kids, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. To now the right's actually a really big tent. It's a little bit too big for my liking personally, but it really is majority filled with people who just want to have families, who just want to have a job and carry on their lives and play their video games. They don't want to have another left-wing terrorist attack all the time. They don't want all these illegals coming in and stealing their jobs. They don't want the Indian scammers with the H-1B also stealing the jobs just legally, right? They want to work at a decent job, make enough money, afford a house, and have kids. That's what most people want. That is the normal position. And that makes you a Nazi these days. It's retarded. But this is Gavin Newsom today, while the attack was happening, or roughly before. Actually, no, it wasn't before, because Texas is on Central Time. So this is basically happening while the shooting in ICE happened. He's basically condoning, not directly, but indirectly, it happening. And then there's another Democrat, Representative John Larson, going on an unhinged sounding round about ICE being a Gestapo. that also happened today. I don't know exactly what time. The tweet says after the facility was shot up. Maybe he wasn't aware what has happened, because normally Democrats do have the self-awareness to wait till the next day before they continue on their radical talking points, but I guess it's mask off.
This is not Germany. That's the SS and the Gestapo. This is the United States of America. Unmask yourself.
But I just want to hit that home, that the fact that he's calling ICE the SS and Gestapo and they have to unmask themselves. Are you retarded? I mean, once again, I'm probably being too generous calling him retarded. But there is this push against the mainstream Democrat politician for ICE to be unmasked. Because they know damn fucking well that if they were unmasked, that their crazy, rabid leftist supporters would go after these people if they get unmasked. I mean, they're already trying to dox and go after them regardless. But this is once again just part of their rhetoric that Ted Cruz so desperately wants them to stop. That they're not going to stop though. They're going to keep on going even after another ICE facility gets shot at, because they know exactly what they're doing. Notice the leftist use of Nazi has increased since Charlie Kirk's assassination. They want more people killed. I'll be honest, I haven't noticed, but maybe I'm just so used to them calling everyone a Nazi. I just see Nazi and I just go opinion dismissed. That's kind of how it is these days. I haven't cared about being called a Nazi since, like, I don't know, 2016, 2017, when they really started ramping up with doing this. This has been going on for like a decade now. I keep on bringing this up all the fucking time, but I don't care. I mean, for fuck's sake, Chris Reagan made a parody of Lady Gaga's Paparazzi called Punch a Nazi, because during the day, back in 2017, Antifa was going crazy, and they were making the case that you should punch Nazis because Nazis are inherently evil, and so you're just defending yourself, so it's a good thing to punch Nazis. And so there was many, you know, centrist and right-leaning commentators that were getting milkshaked and punched all the fucking time. Doesn't change my own opinion, and I will keep on pushing until this crazy leftist nonsense, this commie gobbledygook, is out of power. And it's not out of power yet, despite Trump being in office, because he's not doing anything to actually solve the problem. But hopefully the executive order will help take care of Antifa. You know, we're gonna have a little bit. You can't completely black pill after all. You know, but we'll see what happens. You know, maybe this ICE shooting will help take care of this, because he'll be signing an executive order this week to dismantle these domestic terrorism networks, so hopefully they do send the troops in to, like, Portland and Seattle. But you don't see Newsom or this John Larson being arrested or taken care of when they're the ones inciting this shit. Like, they're a huge part of the problem, and thankfully J.D. Vance calls them out, which is great. But there's not stopping. Like, Ted Cruz was begging them to stop, they're still not stopping.
Happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that.
Did this start halfway through? It did. My apologies.
And I think that is the most disgusting thing. The very people who keep us safe ought to be honored and protected and praised by Democrats and Republicans alike. It is time to stop the rhetorical assault on law enforcement. Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell, and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
Absolutely based. I love him so much. So please, Vance, I love you. Do something about it. Like, this speech, even though it's a minute shorter than what Ted Cruz was saying, the rhetoric is much better. He does say in the beginning that it needs to stop, which is what Ted Cruz is saying. And once again, telling them to stop doesn't solve it, but telling them they need to go to hell and had no place in the political conversation. Now we're putting one step forward. Now, come on, Vance, come on. I believe in you, you sexy motherfucker. Well, let's see. We got the executive order for Antifa being dismantled sometime this week. I feel kind of wrong saying that, like, because once again, I'm fighting with my principles. I'm well aware that principles need to go out the window. So I kind of feel wrong saying, like, Gavin Newsom needs to be arrested. But at the same time, what else can be done? Because he does need to be stopped, right? Begging him to stop is not going to make him stop. So do something about it. Or sue him or something. I think suing might be better, but I'm not exactly sure how that legal format would go. So come on, Vance, you sexy motherfucker. I desperately want you to be in power and control. So do something. Please, do something! I want to like JD, I really do, but if Vivek backstabs so hard I can't let my guard down until H1Bs and Antifa are dealt with. I've kind of gone a little bit back and forth on JD Vance. I would say between him and Trump, I've been a lot more loyal to Vance than Trump because JD Vance has been pretty consistent with his rhetoric since they've gotten in office. Yes, the Indian wife is a concern. Yes, the Palantir and Peter Thiel connections are also concerned. But he does seem to be pretty consistent, and he does seem to be the bulldog that Trump is not fully committing to. And I like that a lot, and it is really hot. I just want the bulldog to start biting instead of barking at this point.